On this week's GTA 5 o'clock, a natural disaster hits Los Santos. Developers give us their insight on the GTA bug log. We look into what the future holds for GTA 5 DLC, plus information about changes to our livestream. It's all here on this week's GTA 5 o'clock. Hello and welcome to GTA 5 o'clock episode 60. I'm your host James Jarvis and I'm joined as ever by co-host Dan Dawkins.
Hello there.
Hello Dan. Going to keep it relatively short and sweet this week. Coming up in just a second we're going to look at a tsunami which has hit Los Santos and Blaine County. We've got a GTA bug log update which Dan's been looking into, and then we're going to look at some news reports from in the game and our thoughts on future DLC and how those news reports could shape that. And we've got a bit of info on our live stream and GTA Online coming up later. But first, Dan, let's get straight in to the big thing about the GTA Tsunami, which appeared on YouTube this week, I think.
Yeah, I could scarcely believe my eyes when footage did the rounds of a PS3 version of GTA 5 where the entire downtown and, you know, effectively the game world is almost completely submerged with water, bar, the higher skyscrapers and such things. So you see things like Michael leaving his house and promptly driving his car underwater and having to swim for safety. Now and again, it's all physics enabled. The game doesn't really slow down. It looks completely legit. It's pretty astonishing. And I guess your first thought is, like, how on earth could this be so? You know, on PC you'd sort of go, all bets are off, these things can happen. But it is possible to mod PS3 versions of the game, provided you have a PS3 debug, James, is that correct?
Yeah, you need a debug, you need the game code, and you need some or quite a lot of knowledge of programming. I think what's happened is they've obviously gone into the game code, they've altered the sea level to make it higher, which is why all of the city is underwater, and then from there they've reloaded that back onto their modded PS3 and then made it work. And it's like you say, it is amazing that it does actually work and the game doesn't explode. But that's how they've done it, I think. There is ways of doing it on your own PS3, but it will need to be modded and it's illegal and you shouldn't.
Yeah, I mean, apart from the fact it's really complicated, I'd massively advise against it. And it's quite likely this is one of the backdoor routes that people have been using to like mod into GTA Online and create infinite pools of money. And, you know, the reason Rockstar have been fighting this war against the debug bandits, I suppose. And, you know, this is going to be ongoing, and, you know, as we come to talk about the PC version, I imagine will only expand.
Yeah, so it's nice to look at. There's got a lot of physics stuff in it, but it's probably best to just look at it on the YouTube channel or right here, as you can see on screen right now. So moving on from there, Dan, we've got a bit of an update on the bug log, which we covered quite extensively last week.
Yeah, if you've been watching over the last 2 weeks, we've been talking about something we're calling the GTA 5 bug log files, which is a leaked developer XML, which is kind of like a spreadsheet document that in fact first came to light in late September last year. And what it contains is like lots of development information from the creation of GTA 5 over a period of about 4 or 5 years, from like 2009 to 2013, so like 4 years. And we pulled that apart and I've been analysing it, and it contains like 170 references to a PC version, reference to something called a last gen mode. There's references to X64, which we speculated has links to PS4. There's references to DX11, which has links to Xbox One. All quite speculative. So what I've been doing this week is cross-referencing the log with a number of like actual development sources. So we've been out to speak to a couple of sort of AAA and ex-AAA devs who shall remain anonymous, obviously, because we don't want to reveal anything. But we've had some interesting feedback on the document. And I guess the abiding thing really is that everybody agrees that the document is legitimate. There seems to be no doubt about that whatsoever. What is worth clarifying is that this isn't probably strictly the development log, it's the QA log. So the people who test the game for bugs keep a log, but it's not the development team's log. Now it's likely they use a lot of the same terminology, because you would expect there to be shared terminology, but it isn't strictly the development log. Now, something we mentioned on last week's show, and you can get much more information on it in last week's show, is that the game does almost unequivocally say, yes, GTA 5 was running or is running on PC somewhere. There is a PC build of GTA 5. None of the developers really argued with that. what a lot of them said was it's, of course, common practice for pretty much most console games to develop at the same time, or almost to develop on PC at the same time. And the reasons for these were given were things like, if you're making it on a PC, it says the PC compiler can catch compilation warnings that aren't picked up on other platforms. I think this makes it easier to monitor what you're doing with this as kind of the base build. Now, what a lot of people have stressed is that having an almost working PC build can be quite a long way from a releasable PC build, partly because of the compatibility issues surrounding PC in terms of the various sort of graphics cards, drivers, controllers. There's a lot of necessary administrative busy work to be done to make that work. So again, that would explain a large delay from the console versions to the PC versions. It's also worth noting that one of the developers had speculated, well, why would you lead on PC if the intention was only to release on PS3 or 360? I think the idea was you might do so if you were developing for other platforms where development kits were unavailable. Now, that developer stopped short of saying next gen, but
you can make your own assumptions.
Yes, you can make your own assumptions. And I think kind of like the worst case scenario posited was that a lot of devs said this wouldn't in itself guarantee a retail release of GTA 5 on PC, but, and as I suggested, this doesn't disprove it, does it? And the response was unanimously no, of course not. And I'd said, well, would they use this as a base for a PC version? And again, I was told, well, this of course would be the logical step. Of course that. So, it's not 100% conclusive, but do I think it's a PC build? Yes.
Again,
I still do. And it seems like, and again, different responses from different devs, but a lot of them said if I was pushed, I'd say there's a PC version. Others said, look, it isn't conclusive. That's all I can say, is this is where it is. But I think all roads are leading that way, really.
Okay, so that's your little update on the GTA bug log. Moving on now to the future DLC that we have been promised, and have been promised for quite a long time. I think before Christmas, Rockstar said there would be significant single-player DLC on the way. We're thinking, I guess that might happen relatively soon, within the next few months, if we had to guess.
Yeah, I think there's a couple of things Rockstar are probably going to announce this year related to GTA 5. Like, we've touched on one of them there, which is probably GTA 5 on PC. It's likely to be GTA 5 on PS4 and Xbox One. Now, the thing they have publicly spoken about and are committed to is significant single-player DLC. Now, this was mentioned before Christmas. I would expect in the next few weeks probably to hear about it, as in what it is, and for it to be released within the next few months.
We're thinking in akin to Ballad of Gay Tony and Lost and the Damned as significant DLC packs, basically. New missions, new things to do, new cars, probably, things like that.
Yeah, it sounds like it would be like it could almost stand alone as a worthwhile product, whether it's quite full price, but it sounds like a significant story slice. Now, we have touched upon what we think that content will be before, which we'll expand upon now. Now, obviously, there's no guaranteed steer, there's no guaranteed leaks. There was some stuff that did the rounds, again, supposedly from leaked files that we talked about on previous shows, but it seemed to be a bit unsubstantiated. Yeah. Now, the key threads that we think, and I've speculated, that could constitute single player DLC. The obvious first one is a kind of prequel DLC set before the events of the North Yankton prologue, where essentially it's a young Michael and a young Trevor and whoever their working partners were. I guess this is all pre-Franklin, and working together when they were learning their trade and learning heists, and it would allow you to play fast and loose with the characters. It enables you to explore North Yankton and other areas. It enables you to continue the heist mechanic and sort of make it fun. And I guess because they're not as professional, there's more scope for humour and fun. Now, that's one avenue they could go down. The other is a more vanilla sort of post GTA 5 story DLC. Now, attention, potential spoiler alert here if you haven't finished the single player, but there was a choice to be made at the end of the single player, and I think probably most of us chose the
Option C.
Option C, as it's known.
Yeah.
So, and that I would have thought that it's likely to be the canon ending, because you wouldn't expect the official ending to be one where one character would no longer be playable.
Yeah, as we've said before, it makes total sense to have all 3 characters still in the game world, so you can do spin-off DLCs and other things like that after the fact.
Yeah, so I just think that's very likely. Now, people would want more heists, so whether they were to concoct a sort of sequel DLC introducing other characters from the GTA universe, whether it's slightly different locations or tapping into locations we know about but haven't been utilised in single player. Now, we were talking about these this morning. It's things like, what were they, James? We had the prison.
Yes, at the prison we had the Landak Dam, the
Yes.
casino and racetrack area hasn't been visited. There's not a lot at Fort Zancudo either that you have to go to in the single player game. There is a mission that takes you there, but you'll never spend any significant amount of time there. And you only really visit like Palito Bay for that one, possibly like one of the most exciting heists in the game, when you've got the minigun and you come out of it and it's really cool. So there's loads of areas to feature the DLC and even to explore properly. And I guess you could, if you were back in time or forwards in time, they could develop those areas slightly differently, add in new buildings and new things to go and look at. So there's a lot of potential there.
Yeah, so that's like another avenue. Now, again, I've nothing really to hang that off apart from it just seems logical. That's another step. Now, there's sort of the third way for them, like the third potential piece of DLC, which I think is probably further down the line if it is to happen. But there are seeds for it and precedents, is that if you look at Red Dead Redemption and the way that developed, nobody saw the Undead Nightmare mod coming. Like, who thought that game was going to become a zombie western? Like, and weirdly, it worked. You know, it was great and made sense. Now, for GTA, there's actually ways to do, well, not zombies, but to do aliens, and almost to do it in a credible way, because the seeds of, as we've talked about a lot on this show, of UFOs, of conspiracy, of radio chatter talking about abductions,
and even alien invasion.
It's all there. So, you know, the idea, an amazing thing would be, you know, aliens are literally invading Los Santos. All bets are off. It's humanity versus the aliens, and just make it some sort of, you know, not quite Saints Row, but like a real departure from reality, maniac game mode with various missions. You know, it's the last throw of the dice almost for GTA 5, that would be, but it would be funny, and it's not beyond the realms of, you know, what they've created to do that.
No, and there is even a theory that the Mount Chiliad mural points towards future DLC. I mean, it's a crazy off-the-wall theory, but it says out there of the mural has the UFO at the top of it. That's in the game, so the whole thing represents GTA 5 as a whole, and then the bottom sections are UFO, egg, jetpack. So the first bit of DLC is alien focused. The second bit is, I think they said the egg related to dinosaurs.
Of course it did.
Because, you know, everyone loves a bit of dinosaur Godzilla
well, there
DLC.
is dinosaur Easter egg stuff within the game as well.
Well, yeah, so, you know, that could work.
Literally true, and would be ridiculous, but if you're calling in the aliens, why not bring in the dinosaurs?
And then the third one would be jetpack, or some kind of flying extra bit of DLC in there as well.
Yeah.
So that's a wild off the wall theory, but you know, it sort of ties in. If they're going down the crazy undead nightmare, you know, you haven't seen this kind of stuff in a GTA game before route, it makes sense.
Do let us know what you think of our thoughts in the comments, and if you've got something interesting yourself, add it. Now please don't just write, oh lol, I want to turn it into Call of Duty GTA killer. Like, I mean, you can write that, but please don't. But like, think about, if you've found any evidence or you think there's anything to support one of your theories, that would be more interesting. Let us know in the comments.
Yeah, just off the back of that, I've got a couple of facts that I'm going to throw in there. We might actually end up turning these things into like a full show in the future, and doing things that, you know, you might not have picked up on GTA. But just as we're here, did you know, Dan, Michael Townley, which is obviously Michael's name that he uses at the beginning of the game, is a real man. He's an actual man. He was born in December 5th, 1942, and is a professional assassin. And he's a United States...
What? Professional assassin?
Yeah, that's his job.
Wow.
But the relationship between him and the Michael in the game are quite similar, as you'll see. He's a United States citizen, currently living in the US, under terms of the Federal Witness Protection Program.
No.
Yeah. A Central Intelligence, he still is, I guess, a Central Intelligence Agency agent and operative of the Chilean Secret Police. He's been convicted and served 62 months in prison in the United States in 1976 for the assassination of Orlando Lettier, who was a former Chilean ambassador. And as part of his plea bargain, Townley received immunity from further prosecution and was therefore not extradited to Argentina to stand trial for that assassination. So he's sort of based on a real man.
Good grief.
So there you go.
That's quite incredible.
There's a couple of other things you might have not picked up from the game. In the mission Hang 10, which is when Trevor goes to Floyd and his wife's house and they have a little bit of an argument and he comes out covered in blood, it would appear that Floyd doesn't actually die in that mission, even though it makes it quite clear that he is. But after that mission, if you look on Life Invader, Floyd actually posts on there saying he's finally gone, I have peace at last. Now, whether that's Trevor somehow logging in, or it's logged in the flat and he's typed it in to cover his tracks, or somehow Floyd is still alive. I mean, it looks like he's pretty dead. There's quite a lot of blood everywhere. But, you know, there's potential for Floyd to come back. And, you know, like a surprise, I'm not dead type thing.
I'm really low on blood, but I'm alive.
Yeah. A couple of things about other mysteries in the game. Apparently in update 1.08 or 1.07, which was reasonably not that long ago, Rockstar have added a script file called letterscraps.xsc, which is a binary thing. And it's also on the disk, but in that update they updated that file. Not quite sure what the update contained or what's in it, but the letterscraps file is being updated in current updates. Whether that points towards an expansion on that mystery or anything like that, we don't know. But it's a cool thing to think about. And there's a sign in Palito Bay as well, which has got a lot of weird letters on it and letters missing, and it's in a weird order. No one really knows what it means, but I might take a further look at it for fact or fiction and see if we can investigate just what that means or what it points to. So talking of online and stuff, we do a live stream every Friday.
Yes, we do.
And we have some, hopefully, very exciting news to share soon. But we've got a little teaser. Dan, you've been speaking to Rockstar about our cruise.
Yeah, the details are yet to be confirmed, but it could be that we're on the edge of a breakthrough in terms of the way our crews work. We've got 3 crews with like different sub-brands. We've got the GTA 5 O'Clock crew, GTA 5 O'Clock Shadows, GTA 5 O'Clock Gravels. They've each got a crew limit of 300. We've got like a limited number of spaces in each, but there's like thousands on the waiting list for each, and people get irate because they think some people in them don't play, and it's sort of, you know, it's created slight frictions, which is a shame because obviously that's not what we want. We want it to be inclusive. Now there's talk of there being a tech breakthrough that will allow us to have a ginormo crew with all the normal crew's abilities, and in which case we may be able to like integrate everyone under one banner.
That would be great.
So it's details TBC, but as soon as there's a breakthrough we will let you know, and it should be transformative for inclusion on the live stream.
Right, now finally then, our GTA live streams currently go out on Friday at 4 PM UK time over here. What we're thinking of doing, and we'd like to hear your feedback in the comments or on Twitter at GTAV0clock, is moving it to Friday AM in the UK time, which I think would make it quite late over in America, but not like stupidly late that hopefully some of you wouldn't be able to join in. And we're also toying with the idea of moving it from YouTube to Twitch. Basically, we're not quite sure about the details, and we'd like you guys to help us bring it all together and pick like a platform to stream it on and a time that's going to work for everyone. Now, obviously, some people are always going to miss out because of the way the world works. But if we can get a way where UK and US people can play together and we can all watch and join in together, then that's basically the goal.
Yeah, like we're thinking about times like, let's say 9 AM UK time, which would be, I think, around about like midnight-ish in West Coast America. So it's like, it's just staying up late as opposed to our current like not very feasible time. Yeah. So let us know what you think. I think do so in the comments. Perhaps if you want to get like a direct line to us, use the at GTAV0clock Twitter handle, or go to the Facebook page, Facebook.com/GTAV .com/GTA Video Clock, and let us know there. But they're the best channels to communicate. We're not going to be able to keep everyone happy. We appreciate that, but we do want to change the times up.
Yeah, so let us know about that, and hopefully we should be able to have an announcement either tomorrow or, if things go bad, next week.
Yeah, and do check GTA Via Clock Twitter at GTA Via Clock for the main announcement.
So hopefully you've got something out of this quite short and sweet episode. We're sorry it's not as long as last week's mega 50-minute one, but there's some good stuff in there. Thanks for joining us. We'd like to see you on the live stream on Friday, so make sure you check those Twitter and Facebook things. Dan, anything else?
Not only to say that it's been a challenging period for GTA 5. A lot of people have missed a single player. There's been various disaffections with online. I think it's time to reinforce the message that Rockstar are a long way from finished with GTA 5, and I think we're about to see an injection of genuinely exciting new content. I think if we all hold tight for a few weeks.
Yeah, we've still got heists to come as well.
I was going to say there's going to be a tsunami of information, but then there already is if you own a debug of C.
And with that, we shall say goodbye, and we'll see you next week, if not before.
Bye.